What if everything you've been told about emotional intelligence is wrong? What if being called cold isn't an insult, but evidence you're operating on a higher level? Intelligent people don't have less emotion, they have better emotional algorithms. And today, I'll show you why your social exhaustion isn't a weakness. It's your brain working exactly as designed for survival in a noisy world. Let me explain what I mean. Why intelligent people detach emotionally, and why it's strategy, not trauma. You've been called cold your entire life. Not cruel, not mean, just cold, detached, unemotional, hard to read. And you've probably wondered if something's wrong with you. Last video, we talked about being misunderstood. How people call you arrogant when you're being accurate. This is the other side of that. They call you cold when you're being efficient. Same mechanism, different accusation. Same reaction from you. Confusion. How is being clear the same as being arrogant? How is being efficient the same as being cold? Here's how. But here's the question no one asks. What if you're not emotionally detached? What if everyone else is just emotionally inefficient? They cry to people who can't help, share feelings with people who don't understand, invest emotional energy in situations that won't change. You don't do that, not because you can't feel, because you calculated the return, and the return was zero. So you stopped, and that's when they started calling you cold. Not when you felt less, when you calculated more. That's the part they don't see. You're not emotionally detached. You're emotionally strategic. You don't confuse venting with solving. You don't mistake sympathy for understanding. You don't perform emotions for people who can't process the real ones. And here's what nobody tells you, that efficiency gets punished. Because emotional intimacy isn't measured by depth, it's measured by display. Most people share feelings the way children throw tantrums. No plan, no outcome. Just noise. Then they get mad when you don't read their mind. You don't do that. Before you say anything, 3 questions run. 1, what do I want from this conversation? 2, can they give it to me? 3, will saying this make it better or worse? If any answer is no, you don't speak. Not because you're hiding, because you're not wasting both people's time. And here's what drives people crazy. They think silence means you have nothing to say. You have 17 things to say. You just ran the math on all 17, and none of them passed the filter. That's not emotional unavailability. That's having standards for how you spend your words. And here's what they'll never admit. They don't actually want the real answer. They want the performance. Because the real answer, it implicates them. What's wrong? If you told them, they'd be part of the problem. So you say nothing. Not to protect yourself, to protect them. Every time you choose silence, you're making a choice for them, because you know what happens when you tell the truth. They get defensive. They make it about themselves. They turn your problem into their wound, and suddenly you're managing their feelings about your feelings. So you cut the loop before it starts. That's not emotional unavailability. That's pattern recognition. You've seen this play out 17 times. You know how it ends. So you don't press play. Here's what people mean when they say you're hard to read. They mean, I can't skim you. Your emotions aren't bullet points. They're essays with introduction, body, paragraphs, supporting evidence, counter-arguments, conditional conclusions. And when someone asks what's wrong, they're asking for the headline. You're offering the full article. So you learn to write nothing. Just tired work stuff. Not because those are true, because the full text requires them to sit down, focus, and read for 20 minutes. And most people don't have 20 minutes. They have 20 seconds. So you give them the version that fits, and they call that emotionally unavailable. No, you're just fluent in a language that doesn't have a Duolingo course. You're not hard to read. You're just written in a format they never learned to parse. But here's where it gets worse. You've learned to compress your emotions for conversations. You've learned to filter your words. You've learned to give people the version they can handle. But what happens when you can't leave? The party, the family gathering, the work event, the dinner where everyone's having fun, and you're running a supercomputer in a room full of calculators. You're not filtering what you say anymore. You're filtering everything. 1,000 inputs per minute. Every face, every voice, every laugh, every movement, every tone shift, every micro-expression. And while they're having one conversation, you're tracking 17. That's not social anxiety. That's your brain doing what it always does, processing everything. Except now, there's no off switch. And when you finally leave, they say that was fun. You need 3 days in a dark room. They think you're antisocial. You're just running out of RAM. Next video. Why your brain treats social gatherings like combat zones. Not because you're anxious. Because you're collecting data at a rate that would break most people's hardware. This is psychology for people who leave parties feeling like they just took an exam. This channel explains psychology for analytical minds who feel out of place in a system not built for how they think. If this made sense to your brain, subscribe. Deep dives into psychology for minds that dissect everything.